All right. Settle in, grab your beverage of choice, because tonight, we're diving deep into something that most people only whisper about, if they even acknowledge it at all: social anxiety. This sneaky little villain. Man, it nearly ran my life into the ground. And I'm not talking about just awkward silences at parties. I'm talking about a full-blown siege on my ability to function, to thrive, to just live. I mean, seriously, it got so bad I couldn't even walk into a Chipotle without feeling like I was about to defuse a bomb. Every single person, every single gaze, felt like a spotlight on my deepest insecurities. Grocery shopping, a simple human necessity, became a terrifying gauntlet. Forget about trying on new clothes. That was practically a mission to Mars. And my coping mechanism. Oh boy, my coping mechanism was a masterclass in avoidance. I'd eat out constantly, not because I was craving gourmet experiences, but because the sheer stress and anxiety of everything else made me seek comfort in food. But here is the kicker. I'd only eat at places with a drive-through. Think about that for a second. My entire culinary world shrunk to a tiny window where I didn't have to face another human being. And this is a true story, once stumbled upon a Pizza Hut with a drive-through. A unicorn in the fast food world, and it felt like I'd won the lottery just to get a pizza, because I loved pizza, but couldn't bring myself to go inside. That is how deep the rabbit hole went. But here's the million-dollar question. How did I crawl out of that hole? How did I, a certified social anxiety champion, start to dismantle this beast? Because let's be real, social anxiety isn't just about feeling shy. It is a relentless thief, stealing your work opportunities, sabotaging your relationships, and outright hijacking your happiness. It ruined so much for me, and I bet it is doing the same to some of you out there. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, just put yourself out there, duh, let me be clear. That is the end game. But getting there, that is the real journey. I'm going to tell you how I built up the courage, brick by painstaking brick, to actually step outside that suffocating comfort zone. First up, and this might sound incredibly basic, but it was monumental for me. I got a job before that. I was in a pretty dark place. Mentally, physically, emotionally, a disaster zone. I wasn't working, barely showering, just a hermit kingdom of one, fueled by video games and zero sunlight. It was bad, like really bad. And for anyone out there stuck in a similar rut, my first piece of advice is simple. You gotta find a way to get out of that situation that is dragging you down. For me, that meant finding employment, and once I started earning a little bit of money, something shifted. It wasn't instant euphoria, but it was a crack in the concrete, a tiny ray of light. Because for years, the weight of unmanaged finances, of feeling like I had no money, like I wasn't contributing anything to my family or my own life, that was a constant nagging dread. It was always hovering above me, a dark cloud. So getting my finances in order, even just starting with a steady paycheck, began to build a foundational layer of confidence. Learning how to invest, how to save. It wasn't just about money, it was about taking control, about having a plan. And that, my friends, was a massive confidence booster. Secondly, and this one's gonna sound a bit wild, but hear me out, working out and taking a shower. Yeah, you heard me, a shower. It sounds almost comically simple, right? But when I was deep in that rut, showering was often a 3, 4, sometimes even 5-day abstention. And let me tell you, when you don't shower for 5 days, you don't feel like $1,000,000. You feel like, well, you don't feel like $1,000,000. But that immediate clean feeling, that simple act of self-care, it's like a mini reset button. It instantly made me feel a little bit better, a little more human, and extending that to my environment, cleaning up my room, my desk, clearing the clutter, it all contributed to a tiny but significant shift in my overall well-being. But then I took it up a notch. I started working out and eating healthier. And let me be brutally honest here, this wasn't some quick fix. This was a long, arduous, and sometimes incredibly frustrating battle. It didn't happen in a month, not even 3. It took a full year, a solid 12 months, of consistently trying to work out and eat better. And when I say consistently, I don't mean every single day, every single week, like a robot. No. Man, there were plenty of days, even weeks, where I fell off the wagon, where I ate too much fast food, where I skipped workouts. But here's the secret. At the end of the day, I always got back to it. I always told myself, all right, you messed up. But tomorrow, we're back on track. We're chasing that dream physique, and that relentless pursuit, that refusal to give up. That is what mattered. And after a year of this on, again off, again, but ultimately consistent effort, my body started to transform. And I gotta be real with you. I eventually lost all that progress. Life happens, you know, but the initial transformation, the sheer power of seeing your body change because of your own efforts, the confidence that floods you, it is insane. It is like unlocking a superpower, and once I started gaining that confidence from getting my finances in order, from feeling better about my body and my health, my mind started to follow suit. I started feeling more comfortable, more equipped to tackle those uncomfortable social situations that used to paralyze me. Because here's what I would tell myself, and this is something you absolutely need to steal. I'd look in the mirror and be like, bro, you look good, you're good. If they don't mess with you, who cares? It was this internal cheerleader, this constant self-reassurance before. My internal monologue was a toxic wasteland of self-doubt. I'm not cool. I don't look good enough. This and that. All that negative garbage. And that negative garbage, it poisons your mind. It dictates your reality. But once you start putting in the work, once you start seeing the results, you start speaking to yourself differently, you start carrying yourself differently. And that, my friends, is when the magic happens. Then, and only then, was I ready to actively put myself in those uncomfortable situations. A perfect example, my amazing girlfriend of 2 years now, when I first met her at work, I literally could not talk to her. And you're probably thinking, oh, it was just awkward. No man, it was beyond awkward. She'd come up to me, say something, and I'd just stare at her, mouth agape, sputtering like a broken robot. And then just flee. It was bad, really bad. And I'd sit there afterwards, replaying the scenario, agonizing over all the things I should have said, could have said, what if I just did this or that? You know that feeling, right? That feeling of wanting to do something, of imagining yourself doing it, but being utterly paralyzed by a lack of confidence. But as I worked on myself, as I chipped away at my insecurities, about 1.5 years after I first met her, or probably more like a year, I finally, and it wasn't a smooth Hollywood movie moment, let me tell you, but I finally gathered every ounce of courage I had, walked up to her, and asked her out on a date, face-to-face, no drive-through required, and the rest, as they say, is history. A full year, man, a full year of dedicated self-improvement, focusing on my finances, my health, my mind, all culminating in that one moment. That is something you have to engrave in your mind, that desire to make these changes, to become the person you've always wanted to be. And, let me tell you, after I asked her out, after achieving that monumental personal victory, I felt like I could walk on water. I felt like the man, because that was one of the biggest hurdles, one of the biggest challenges I wanted to overcome, and being able to do that, it truly felt like I could conquer the world. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a fairy tale ending where all my anxiety vanished into thin air. No, man, you'll still have those moments, those weeks, where you feel like you're back in the trenches, back in that rut, and that is perfectly normal. The key is to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then get back on that horse, keep moving forward. Who knows when we'll reach that mythical point where nothing brings us down, where we're completely unshakable. We're all still chasing that. But the ability to break free from the suffocating grip of social anxiety, to live your life the way it should be lived, that is the ultimate prize. I can walk into any store now, any restaurant. And even if I still feel a little uncomfortable sometimes, and I do, that is okay, because I can still walk in there, do what I need to do, and walk out completely fine. And that for me is absolutely massive, because I missed out on so many experiences, so many opportunities, so many moments, because of how I felt. And that is a sad realization, because we're only here for a finite amount of time. We might as well experience as much as we can in a way that brings us joy and comfort, not in a prison of self-doubt. But it happens, man. Just know that you can escape that prison, you can become better, and for each of you, that journey might look a little different. My personal goals, my personal tools for getting out of that rut and into a confident place might not be your exact blueprint. You might need to change different things than I did, but ultimately, if you get your money right, start working out and eat healthier, those two simple things, you will feel better. You will see the changes. Just understand that it is going to take time. It is not a sprint, it is a marathon, and you never really reach that finish line. It is a continuous process. But along that road, you will see the changes. And at least for me, it truly helped me, and it is still helping me. And I'm incredibly grateful that I took that time to truly work on myself. Hope you guys can find your own path. Hope you can hear this and be inspired to make those changes, or simply just experience life in a better way. Talk to you guys soon. Stay boring. Stay patient. Peace.